My name is Robert Chen. I'm 63 years old, and I want to tell you about the morning I almost didn't wake up. It was a Tuesday, October 17th. I remember the date because it's the day I learned that the pills I trusted to keep me moving were slowly killing me. I woke up feeling strange, not the usual need coffee kind of tired. Something was wrong, really wrong. When I tried to sit up, the room spun, my vision blurred. I reached for the nightstand to steady myself and saw my hand. It was pale, white almost, like someone had drained the color right out of me. My wife Karen stirred beside me. She opened her eyes, looked at me, and her face went from sleepy to terrified in an instant. "Bob," she whispered. "Oh my God, Bob, you look like a ghost." I stumbled to the bathroom. Every step felt like walking through mud. My legs were weak, shaking. I gripped the door frame and looked in the mirror. The man staring back at me looked dead. Gray skin, sunken eyes, lips with a bluish tint. I barely recognized myself. Then I looked down at the toilet. The water was black. Not dark yellow, not brown, black, like ink. I knew what that meant. I'd been a contractor for 40 years. I'd seen guys on job sites have health problems. I knew black stool meant one thing: internal bleeding. "Karen," I called out, my voice shaking. "Call 911. I think I'm bleeding inside." The last thing I remember before the paramedics arrived was Karen crying, telling me to stay awake, begging me not to close my eyes. 5 years before that Tuesday morning, my knees started talking to me. I was 58. I'd spent 35 years climbing ladders, kneeling on concrete, carrying heavy loads. My body had taken a beating, and my knees were done complaining quietly. They were screaming. I went to my doctor. He pressed on my knees, had me bend them, took some x-rays. "Osteoarthritis," he said, like it was no big deal. "Pretty common for guys your age and your line of work." "What can I do about it?" I asked. He scribbled something on a prescription pad. "Take ibuprofen. 2 pills 3 times a day when the pain is bad. It'll help with the inflammation." That was it. The entire conversation lasted maybe 5 minutes. He didn't tell me about risks. He didn't ask about my medical history. He didn't mention that taking ibuprofen every day could destroy my stomach. He just handed me a piece of paper and sent me on my way. At first, I only took the pills when my knees really hurt, maybe 3 times a week. The pain would flare up after a long day on the job. I'd pop 2 ibuprofen, and within an hour I'd feel better. It was like magic. But here's the thing about pain. Once you find something that works, you start relying on it. And over time, my as needed became every day. Within 6 months, ibuprofen was part of my morning routine. Coffee, ibuprofen, breakfast. I didn't even think about it anymore. 2 pills in the morning, 2 pills at lunch, 2 pills before bed. That's 200 milligrams a day, every single day, for 5 years. And my knees felt great. I could work full days without limping. I could play with my grandkids without wincing. I could sleep through the night without waking up in pain. I thought I'd found the solution to my problem. I had no idea I was creating a much bigger one. Looking back now, I realized my body was screaming at me for years. But I didn't listen. I didn't connect the dots. Year 1 and 2. The small things. I started getting heartburn. Not terrible, just annoying. I'd feel a burning in my chest after meals, especially if I ate something spicy or acidic. "It's probably the pizza," I'd tell Karen, "or the hot sauce." I'd take some antacids and move on. I also noticed I was getting full faster. I used to be able to finish a full plate of food. Now I'd eat half and feel stuffed. Maybe I'm finally learning portion control, I joked. And I was tired, not exhausted, but tired, like I needed an extra hour of sleep that I never quite got. I'm getting older, I told myself. This is just what happens. Year 3 and 4, the concerning symptoms. My stools started looking darker. Not black yet, but dark brown, almost tar-like. I didn't know what that meant. I thought maybe it was something I ate, or iron supplements, or just nothing to worry about. I started bruising easily. I'd find bruises on my arms and legs and have no memory of bumping into anything. "You're clumsy," Karen teased. But I wasn't clumsy. My blood wasn't clotting the way it should. My indigestion got worse. The heartburn became constant. I was taking antacids multiple times a day just to feel normal. But I never connected any of this to the ibuprofen. Why would I? It was over the counter. It was safe. Millions of people take it. My doctor told me to take it. How could it be dangerous? Year 5, the collapse. By year 5, I was exhausted all the time, not just tired, bone-deep, crushing exhaustion that didn't improve with sleep. I'd sit on the couch after dinner and fall asleep within minutes. I couldn't make it through a TV show without dozing off. "You're working too hard," Karen said. Maybe she was right. I started taking more breaks at work, going to bed earlier, trying to rest more. But the exhaustion didn't get better. It got worse. The week before my collapse, I started feeling dizzy when I stood up, lightheaded, like I might faint. "You need to see a doctor," Karen insisted. "I'm fine," I said. "I'm just tired." I wasn't fine. I was dying, and I didn't know it. The ambulance ride is a blur. I remember the sirens. I remember the paramedic asking me questions I couldn't answer. I remember Karen's hand holding mine, her face pale with fear. When we got to the hospital, everything moved fast. They rushed me into the ER. Nurses swarmed around me, hooking me up to monitors, starting IVs, taking blood samples. A doctor appeared, a young guy, maybe 35. He looked at my chart, then at me. "Mr. Chen, when was the last time you took ibuprofen?" "This morning," I said. "2 pills, like always." "How long have you been taking it?" 5 years, every day." His face changed, not angry, sad almost, like he'd heard this story before. "Mr. Chen, your hemoglobin is 6.2. Normal is 1418. You've lost almost half your blood." The room started spinning again. "We're doing an emergency endoscopy," he continued. "We need to find where you're bleeding and stop it. You're going to need a transfusion, probably 3 units. 3 units. That's almost 2 liters of blood." "Am I going to die?" I asked. My voice sounded small. He hesitated, just for a second. "We're going to do everything we can." That hesitation told me everything. 2 hours later, I woke up in a hospital bed. My throat was raw from the endoscopy. Karen was sitting beside me, her eyes red from crying. The doctor came in with a tablet showing images from inside my stomach. I wish I could unsee those images. "You have multiple bleeding ulcers," he said, pointing to dark spots on the screen. "Here, here, and here. This one," he zoomed in, "was actively bleeding when we scoped you. We cauterized it, but it was close. Another few hours, and you might have bled out." He scrolled to another image. "And this is the beginning of a perforation, a hole starting to form in your stomach wall. If that had ruptured—" He didn't finish the sentence. He didn't need to. "The ibuprofen did this?" I asked. "The ibuprofen did this," he confirmed. "NSAIDs, that's what ibuprofen is. They strip away the protective lining of your stomach. Think of it like armor. Every pill you took removed a little more armor. Eventually, your stomach acid ate through to the tissue underneath. But it's over the counter, I said weakly. It's safe. It's safe for short-term use, he corrected. Days, maybe a couple weeks, not 5 years. NSAIDs cause over 100,000 hospitalizations every year in the U.S. About 16 to 500 people die from complications. I almost became number 16 of 501. I spent 4 days in the ICU. They gave me 3 units of blood, someone else's blood keeping me alive. They put me on IV medications to stop the acid production in my stomach. They monitored me around the clock. Karen barely left my side. On the second day, I asked the question I'd been too afraid to ask. Will I be okay? The gastroenterologist, a different doctor, an older woman with kind eyes, sat down beside my bed. Your ulcers will heal, she said. Your stomach can recover, but Mr. Chen, you can never take NSAIDs again. Not ibuprofen, not naproxen, not aspirin, unless it's specifically prescribed for your heart. Your stomach lining is too damaged. If you take them again, you could die. What about my knees? I asked. The pain is going to come back. Then we'll find another way, she said, but not this way, not ever again. 2 weeks later, the hospital bill arrived. Emergency room, ambulance, 4 days in ICU, endoscopy, blood transfusions, medications, specialists, 47 of 283s. Even with insurance, I owed $8,200 out of pocket. $8,000 because I took over-the-counter pain pills for too long. But honestly, the money wasn't what haunted me. It was the realization that I'd done this to myself. I'd trusted that if something was sold in a drugstore, if millions of people used it, if my doctor told me to take it, it must be safe. I was wrong. They discharged me on a Thursday. By Friday, my knee pain was back. By Saturday, it was worse than it had ever been. By Sunday, I was in agony. Without the ibuprofen, my knees felt like someone was grinding glass inside the joints. Every step hurt. Sitting hurt. Lying down hurt. Everything hurt. I couldn't sleep. I couldn't work. I could barely walk from the bedroom to the bathroom. Karen found me crying on the couch on Monday morning. I can't live like this, I said. I can't take the pills, but I can't take the pain either. She held my hand. We'll figure it out. There has to be another way. I didn't believe her, but I was desperate enough to try. That afternoon, Karen called our daughter, Lisa. She's a nurse practitioner, the smart one in the family. Lisa came over that evening with her laptop and a notebook full of research. Dad, you can't take NSAIDs anymore. That's non-negotiable. But there are other ways to manage pain. She explained something called multimodal pain management, using multiple approaches instead of just one drug. The problem with NSAIDs, she said, is that they block pain, but they don't heal anything. They just cover up the problem. What you need is something that actually helps your body repair the damage. She showed me research on heat therapy, studies showing that consistent deep heat increases blood flow to joints, brings oxygen and nutrients to damaged tissue, and reduces inflammation naturally. But I've tried heating pads, I said. They help a little, but not enough. Not regular heating pads, Lisa corrected. Therapeutic heat, medical grade, combined with gentle massage to improve circulation even more. She showed me studies. One from 2024 showed heat therapy reduced arthritis pain by 43% over 12 weeks, comparable to moderate dose NSAIDs, but without any side effects. Another study from 2025 found that patients using consistent heat therapy had 31% lower inflammatory markers in their blood, proof that it wasn't just masking symptoms, it was actually reducing inflammation. Dad, this could work, Lisa said. But you have to commit. It's not a magic pill. You have to do it every day consistently for weeks before you see real results. I looked at Karen. She nodded. Okay, I said. I'll try. Lisa ordered something for me online. It arrived 2 days later. It was a therapeutic knee massager. Nothing like the heating pads I'd tried before. This thing wrapped completely around my knee, had adjustable heat settings, gentle vibration, even red light therapy. That first night, I sat on the couch at 8 p.m. and wrapped it around my right knee, the one that hurt the worst. I set it to medium heat. The warmth spread through my knee deep into the joint. It felt good, really good. Not just surface heat, but penetrating warmth that seemed to reach the source of the pain. The gentle vibration was soothing, not aggressive, not uncomfortable, just a subtle massage that felt like someone was kneading the tension out of my muscles. I sat there for 20 minutes, watching TV, and for the first time in days, I wasn't focused on the pain. When it automatically shut off, I noticed something. My knee felt quieter, not pain-free, but quieter, like someone had turned down the volume on the constant throbbing. That night, I slept 4 hours straight, the longest stretch since leaving the hospital. The first week was hard. I used the massager twice a day, morning and night, but my pain was still significant. The second week was better. The sharp, grinding pain started to dull. I could walk to the mailbox without wincing. By the third week, something shifted. I woke up one morning and realized my knee didn't hurt. Not badly anyway. It was stiff. That would probably always be there, but the deep, throbbing ache that had dominated my life for 5 years was manageable. I tested it. I walked around the house. I went down the stairs. I stood up from a chair without bracing myself. It wasn't perfect, but it was livable. Karen noticed too. "You're not limping," she said, surprised. I hadn't even realized. At my 3-month follow-up, my gastroenterologist ran a full panel of tests. She called me 2 days later with the results. "Mr. Chen, your ulcers are completely healed. Your hemoglobin is back to normal. Your kidney function, which was starting to decline from the NSAIDs, is back in normal range." She paused. "Whatever you're doing for pain management, keep doing it, because it's working." I told her about the heat therapy, about the daily routine, about committing to it even when I didn't think it was helping. "That's exactly what I like to hear," she said. "You're managing the pain without destroying your body. That's what we want." A week later, I saw my orthopedist, the knee specialist. He examined my knees, checked my range of motion, and looked at my labs. "Your inflammatory markers are down," he said, studying the results. "C-reactive protein is almost normal. That's impressive for someone with your level of arthritis." I hadn't taken a single ibuprofen in 90 days. My pain wasn't zero. I'm realistic. I have arthritis. That's not going away. But the pain was manageable, consistent, and most importantly, safe. I wasn't bleeding internally. My kidneys were healing. My stomach was recovering. I could live with this. After everything I went through, I started researching. I talked to specialists. I read medical journals. And I realized how much I wish I'd known 5 years ago. Here's what every person taking NSAIDs needs to know. NSAIDs are not safe for long-term use over the counter. Doesn't mean safe. It just means you don't need a prescription. Most bottles say, "Do not use for more than 10 days without consulting a doctor." I use them for 125 days. Your stomach has no pain receptors inside This is the scariest part. You can't feel your stomach bleeding. There are no nerve endings inside your stomach that send pain and signals. By the time you have symptoms, black stools, weakness, dizziness, you've already lost a dangerous amount of blood. I was dying, and I didn't know it. The risks increase with age. If you're over 60, your risk of serious GI bleeding from NSAIDs doubles. I was 63 when I collapsed. I was in the highest risk group, and nobody told me. NSAIDs damage more than just your stomach. They also increase heart attack risk by 30–50%. They damage your kidneys. They thin your blood. They raise your blood pressure. I thought I was just treating knee pain. I was actually slowly destroying multiple organ systems. If you're reading this because you take ibuprofen, Advil, Aleve, or any NSAID regularly, please listen to me. I almost died. I woke up one Tuesday morning and my body had almost given up. If I'd waited even a few more hours before calling 911, I might not be here to tell you this story. My 3-year-old granddaughter might have grown up not remembering her grandpa. My wife might have found me dead in our bed. All because I trusted that over-the-counter meant safe. I'm not telling you to stop your medication cold turkey. That's dangerous too. Talk to your doctor. Ask about alternatives. Ask about risks. But please, please, don't assume that just because something is easy to buy, it's easy on your body. It's been 8 months since that Tuesday morning. I use my therapeutic massager every day, morning and evening. It's part of my routine now, like brushing my teeth. My knees aren't perfect. Some days are harder than others, but I'm managing the pain without pills. I've also made other changes. I lost 18 pounds. Less weight on my knees means less pain. I do physical therapy exercises to strengthen the muscles around my joints. I take turmeric supplements, which have natural anti-inflammatory properties. But most importantly, I'm alive. I get to see my grandkids grow up. I get to wake up next to Karen every morning. I get to work on projects I enjoy. Last week, I built a bookshelf for Lisa. It took me 3 days because I had to take breaks, rest my knees, use my massager in between sessions. But I finished it. 5 years ago, I could have built that bookshelf in an afternoon, but only because I was taking pills that were slowly killing me. Now it takes longer. But I'll be around to build the next one, too. I'm not a doctor. I'm not a medical expert. I'm just a 63-year-old contractor who almost bled to death because I didn't know the risks. If you're taking NSAIDs every day, talk to your doctor about alternatives. Ask about heat therapy. Ask about physical therapy. Ask about weight loss, exercise, supplements, anything that doesn't carry the risk of internal bleeding. Don't wait for a crisis. Don't wait until you're in an ambulance. Don't wait until your wife is crying, begging you to stay awake. Make the change now, while you still can, because I promise you, no amount of pain relief is worth dying for. And that's exactly what I was doing, dying slowly, 2 pills at a time.